The colourful history of the service that has touched the lives of so many in our community is now being put to print. The book will trace its days back to its founder, Margaret Jerd, and first street worker, Trevor Waring. The name Margaret Jerd was commemorated in 1986 when a learning centre bearing her name was opened. Now up to 8 homeless youngsters live and study there. The service's headquarters at the Wesley Fellowship House at Hamilton have also changed, now employing more than a dozen staff, including adolescent workers, counsellors and a mothercraft nurse for the service's newest project, a home for unmarried mothers.
We're certainly looking more now at things like more skills training, perhaps employment engendering programs, which seems to be a very great need that's coming up in the next decade.
At a celebratory dinner tonight, Premier Nick Greiner will compliment the service, the longest running of its kind in the country.
Conditions were once again appalling at Dixon Park, and the fickle waves competitors were forced to ride drastically increased the luck factor. Merewether drew dark horse Gold Coast club Kira in the semi-finals, and it proved to be an engrossing struggle. Marcus Brabant made a slow start for the defending champs, while the Queenslanders were quick to rack up the points. Nicky Wood made matters worse with a costly fall-off, and the pressure was well and truly on double whammy surfer Luke Egan. As usual, he responded in brilliant fashion. Matt Hoy continued the Merewether charge and left Simon Law with plenty of time to wrap up a place in the final. They faced the boys from Bondi's in the Nude Club, who had knocked out the powerful Cronulla unit in the other semi. Marcus Brabant gave Merewether the kind of start they were hoping for, but Robbie Sherwell was able to find some speed in the tiny conditions, and he nudged the Sydney siders ahead. The ocean went completely flat for much of Luke Egan's allotted time, and Bondi's Ben Webber played the hassling game to increase the pressure. In the end, Luke was forced to risk an interference by taking off outside Webber, but it proved to be a masterstroke. Egan's efforts nudged Merewether to the lead, and a blitzing performance from Matt Hoy gave them a healthy 7-point buffer. The unflappable Simon Law was quick to catch his quota, and he returned to a hero's reception. The final announcement was inevitable. And the boys are already thinking about number 5.
Before today, I was thinking, gee, we've done it 3, we've got to do it 4, and now a couple of minutes ago it just switched now and going, it's 4, now we've got to do it 5. So it's a good feeling. The best feeling is to do it here at home.
Bruce McKenzie, NBN News.
Lake Macquarie is one of the first councils faced with setting its rates this year on substantial increases in land valuations. Possible rate hikes of 4 and 5 times more than what some residents had paid the year before caused panic. Cessnock Council faces a similar problem, and other councils, including Wollongong and Sutherland in Sydney, realise they could be next. While the immediate problem isn't about to go away, the support of these councils could help change the rules. According to Mayor Welsh, they're looking for breathing space.
It is a state issue. When any council in the state is asked to use valuations less than 6 months old, I think it's an imposition on the council to have to bust all speed to do that. I don't think it's necessary.
The Lake Council will be asking to have its rate set on their 1981 land valuations, plus a 6.7% increase allowed by the Department of Local Government. If that's not permitted, Council will have to find another way of resolving the predicament. But the bottom line is that Council must have a solution by the 19th of November.
We'll make the best decision we can by the 19th, yes, but we'll still press on with the hope that the Minister will reverse his decision.
It's taken several weeks to set up the show, which boasts 4,500 square metres of trade stands. Set up beside Singleton Council Chambers is a 90 by 25 metre freestanding marquee housing the smaller exhibits. Outside are the larger pieces of equipment, including the world's largest tyre and this $1 million Finnish-made crusher, the first seen in Australia. Though only 60 exhibitors were expected, 165 have taken up their spots for the 4-day event. Within the first 2 hours of opening this morning, 300 trade visitors had walked through, including delegations from China and Indonesia. 5,000 industry decision-makers are expected. Visitors will also be able to tour the area's open-cut mines, which have seen a 26% rise in production in the past 12 months. The exhibition coincides with 3 large mining conventions, including Singleton Coal Discussion Day, which will be opened by Premier Nick Greiner on Friday.
The Australians were hard at work today, fine-tuning their game in preparation for Saturday's Test match and taking the first tentative steps on the Newcastle International Hockey Centre's AstroTurf.
I think it's up there with the top. It's one of the best fields you can play on, and we're lucky we've got 2 of them. So that's first in Australia and probably first in the world somewhere, so that's quite an achievement.
For goalie Stuart Deering, the game promises to be a memorable one. He'll be doing his best to block everything the Poms hit his way in front of a home crowd.
It's pretty exciting. There's not many Test matches here in Newcastle in any sport, so I think this is one of the first. So hopefully I'll be playing. It'll be quite thrilling to be on the field.
The British cost the Australians a chance for a gold medal at the Seoul Olympics, but are playing down their role as favourites.
Well, I think we've had some good results in the big tournaments that matter in the Olympics, LA and Seoul, but if you look at the record books in between, there have been some big scores in Australia's favour. So we're not counting ourselves as favourites. We're here visitors. You're the hosts. You're a damn good side. You're defending the Champions Trophy, so I'd put you lot as favourites.
As was expected, unemployment has jumped sharply during the past month. It now stands at 650,000 Australians looking for full-time work. That's a jump of almost 17,000 people in the past 4 weeks. It's also the highest unemployment rate, seasonally adjusted, since March of 1987. A little later, we expect the government to be commenting on all of this. The national unemployment rate now is 7.6%. That's at the end of October. It was 7.4% in September. In New South Wales, there's been a reversal of the overall trend. Unemployment in that state has actually fallen to about 188,000.
Concedes the Catholic Church should be allowed to run its homes in line with its religious beliefs. Police divers found the body of 11-year-old Alan Turner in a dam after an extensive search through the Adelaide Hills around Macclesfield. At this stage, police believe there are no suspicious circumstances.
When it's commissioned early next year, the John Hunter will be the most advanced hospital in the state. But it isn't just the design of the building which has made it a showpiece for the state government. Despite extensive earthquake damage in the early stages of construction, the hospital is one of only a few Public Works Department projects to be finished ahead of time.
There have been a couple that have gone over time and gone over budget, but I think this particular project, John Hunter, has not only been finished on time, it's been finished something like 15 or 16 months ahead of time. And it really shows what people can do when they set their minds to it.
The hospital is designed to be as unobtrusive as possible on the bushland ridge on which it stands. Inside, the cold, clinical and often intimidating white paint and tiles of hospitals past have disappeared, and in their place are soft pastel hues. Much of the building is naturally lit and it has no air conditioning. Instead, these scooped awnings direct cool breezes into the rooms. The John Hunter will combine services from Royal Newcastle, the Mater and Western Suburbs hospitals, and according to Health Minister Peter Collins, will serve a far greater area than just the Hunter region.
This great hospital is the focus for referrals, not simply from the Hunter area, which of course goes without saying, but from the north of the state.
Already 130 staff are at work at the hospital, with hundreds more expected to take up their posts before Christmas. The first patients will be admitted in January, with a staggered opening of services until March. Still to be completed is Ronald McDonald House and a special staff sports complex which will boast tennis and squash courts, a gym and perhaps even a swimming pool. The 5,000 staff employed by the Hunter Area Health Service were today presented with medallions in recognition of their support and cooperation since the earthquake. Jodie McKay for NBN News.
The board at all times takes a very responsible position of ensuring that any assistance is of a very practical nature and offers a genuine benefit to the community. Of course, interest group, it does not have to represent unions, mine owners.
But there are possibly a few here who may be unaware. The total income of the board in the last financial year was over $100 million, but only $4 million of that was financed by government. That's $2 million from the state government, $2 million from the federal government.
Rachel Long was packing her bags for the United Kingdom today, keen to cram in some vital international experience.
You don't go away to represent Australia until you reach under 21s and open, and as I've only been in age, Australian teams have only been honorary, and we've just had training down at the Australian Institute of Sport.
The 19-year-old has starred for the Newcastle State League team in recent seasons and has been a member of state age teams since she was 15. Unfortunately, that by no means guarantees her a spot in the National Open side, especially at a time when Australian netball is right up there with the best.
They are a very established team and they've been together for a couple of years now, and they're doing very well, so to make a new entry into the team would be very difficult, but in the long run I'd eventually like to make it there.
The tour of the UK will provide plenty of experience for the Australian university girls, as it includes tests against Welsh and British uni sides. They'll play 8 games over 15 days, including the curtain raiser to the Australia-Great Britain Open Test match.
The government has been considering isolating the state's hardcore inmates since Katingal was closed amid widespread controversy in 1979. It's understood Maitland was one of several jails being looked at as a site for a high-tech security wing designed to house troublemakers and inmates deemed beyond rehabilitation. Although Corrective Services Minister Michael Yabsley was unavailable for comment today, his office confirmed that a departmental committee assigned to look at the proposal had narrowed the site down to either Maitland or Goulburn Jail. Goulburn Jail is believed to be operating at full capacity despite a recent construction of an $8 million multi-purpose wing, which appears to leave Maitland as the final choice. A spokesperson for Mr Yabsley's office declined to say which prison would house the new facility. However, she did say it was expected to hold up to 20 prisoners. We believe that figure is low. It could be more like 50 or even 70 inmates. High-tech surveillance is a familiar system in the US where private prisons boast of their facilities. However, in New South Wales, the Corrective Services Minister is anxious to play down the proposed segregation wing, especially in the light of unrest in the state's prisons over confiscation of inmates' property. But a spokesperson has confirmed that an announcement will be made before the end of the year. Tom Hilston, NBN News.
It's built along the lines of a skiff with a flat bottom and a centreboard keel. That's about where the similarities end. The boat is a New Zealand Alan Mummery design and the first of its kind in Australia. Named Ozfire, it's tipped to not only turn heads in this year's Sydney to Hobart race, but set new records as well. It's built for lightness and strength from fiberglass and Kevlar materials. A 22-metre aluminium mast will be supported by steel rod stays. Mast builder Ken Banwell has been in the business for 20 years and says the rig should prove exciting.
With a boat of this calibre, I think the only thing the crew need to take with them is a change of underwear.
It's taken $400,000 and 6 months to build. Owner Doug Coulter anxiously watched over what became an all-day launching operation plagued by minor problems.
Everything you do with boats is time-consuming.
The rudder needed more than gentle persuasion, and the owner only had one thought on his mind.
As soon as we hit the water, we'll have the mast in. Hopefully, barring problems, the mast shouldn't take long, about 3/4 of an hour, and then we'll go and wet the baby's head.